Alright, so I would like to get started with today's Sunday service. The answer: karma, reincarnation, and fate. So before I begin, I would like to introduce our teacher, our founder, our master of happy science. There you go. This is him. His name is Master Ryuho Okawa. And as you all know, he was a very elite businessman until he was 24. He had this great revelation, a contact from the heavenly world. And he found out that he had a special mission to teach the spiritual perspective, the truth, to humankind. And it was such an overwhelming experience. So because he has a very rational mindset, it took him 6 years after that revelation to actually start his spiritual journey. And when he was 30, he embarked on this movement. He quit his job as a very first class at a trading company. He quit his job and he is entered to become a renunciant. He renounced the world and he started preaching, teaching us the important teachings about life. And today we're going to be learning about karma, which is a subject that touches each and every one of our lives. But before we begin, Master Okawa has been placing a lot of importance in this one word. Disciples, please jot this down. The important message that he's been lately always telling us is this: devoting yourself to the basics. Devoting yourself to the basics. Devotion to the basics. What he means is that you need to always discipline yourself to build up your basics, your basic skills. As disciples, studying the truth every day, reciting the Dharma every day, practicing self-reflection every day. Dedicating yourself to the basic is like the common thread that's going on in Japan. That's what Master is telling his disciples. And the other one is, we're going to be watching from 2:30 today, starting from love. Starting from love. In my ways of translations, it's kind of like, it starts from love, or everything starts from love. That's my way of translation. But right now, as you can see, Master is telling us the importance of going back to the basics of being a human being. What does it mean to be a human being? What's the purpose of why we're born here right now? What's the purpose of going through reincarnation and going through soul training to solve our problems in our life? What's the purpose all behind it? Why does this world exist? This is the part that we are focusing on today, actually. And so because this is the trend, I asked myself, why do we always hold these Sunday services every Sunday? What's the purpose of it? I found the answer in one of Master's poems, Guide for the Mind. So I would like to show it to you first. much. So the reason why I showed you this video is because I wanted to go back to the very basics of happy science, and that is to always seek the right mind. And after seeking the right mind, what we attain, I believe, are two things. One is a very peaceful mind. By always seeking the right mind, or Buddha's truth, or God's truth, and trying to align yourself with those thoughts, there's a very awesome bifactor that comes from it. One is a very, very peaceful mind. And the second one is answers to solve your problems in life. Answers to solve your problems in life. So, with that in mind, let us start this. The purpose of today's Sunday service, the answer to our karma and reincarnations and all of this, is to solve our problems in life with a calm mind. Karma, fate, and how to solve problems will be today's lecture. Now, if you are spiritually inclined, or if you're interested in spirituality, or if you really have like some kind of a religious mind, I'm sure a lot of us believes in fate or a destiny. When I do services around all over the place in libraries, a lot of newcomers come who are, they're interested in spirituality, and like I would say mostly, all of them that I've met so far would say everything happens for a reason. In other words, they believe that it was planned to happen. So in a way, if you look at it, it's like they believe in the theory of destiny. But it's important to have a very, very correct perspective on fate and destiny. Because, let me explain the why after I show you one of the Master's lecture that explains what karma is. It's called How to Overcome Fate.
Speaking from my years of experience as a man of religion, if I were asked if such a thing as fate actually exists in people's lives, I would reply that it does. When I say this, however, I do not mean that people live according to a rigid script. Because people's souls have certain individual tendencies, by looking at these, it is possible to anticipate the direction that a life will take. It is in this context that I say fate does exist. By looking at the tendencies of a person's soul, it is possible to foretell to a certain degree where they will succeed and where they will fail. It is possible to foretell what is likely to happen to someone in 5, 10, or even 20 years or more. In this sense, there is such a thing as fate. However, it is also possible to overcome fate. If people try to slough off their present self and change themselves by studying themselves and other people, understanding the traits and tendencies of their own soul, carefully analyzing their strengths and weaknesses, what fate has in store for them will be changed. If you think your life is cursed, or that your fate is so bad that you want to avoid it, there is only one way out. You need to gain a fine understanding of the tendencies of your soul. If you achieve this, you will be able to foresee your future and understand what you need to do to overcome it. Because you will know what is going to happen to you, you will be able to avoid it. It is important to avoid dangers and develop the abilities you lack. Nurture future strength that lie in your shortcomings, and discover the seeds of failure lurking within your strengths. Then you'll be able to achieve long-lasting success. It is true that fate does exist, but it is possible to improve it.
All right, thank you very much. So, what is fate? What Master has taught us in that short video lecture was this. Fate is a course of life carved out by your own karma. It's carved out by your own karma. So I think we all know what the term karma means, right? Simply put, you reap what you sow. So human beings, let me show you a little picture here. Human beings, we go through reincarnation. This is the truth. We go through reincarnation. So this physical body is temporary. And who we actually are is our souls. And as you can see in this picture, we have different lives, probably in different civilizations, different nations. We spoke different language with, different types of family set and all that. However, every time we live our life, we obviously have happy moments of success, but also sad moments of failures. And sometimes, actually all the times, no one's perfect, we always make mistakes in our lives. And if you're not able to fix that mistake in the past life, it's carried over. That is called what a lot of people think of what karma is. So let's say that something bad happens to you, like let's say that you lose eyesight. If you believe in the theory of karma, what would cross your mind is probably in my past life I took away someone else's eyesight. That's why it came back to me. So it's like one thing that happened here is going to happen to me here. I think that's like the ordinary way of thinking what karma is. But here, Master takes it a little deeper. It's a little deeper. Karma, it's actually a tendency of your soul. It's a tendency of the way you think. It's a tendency of the way you act to different situations. Meaning, in more simple terms, what is your karma? What is your soul tendencies? It's actually the strengths and weaknesses of your character. What kind of individual are you? What kind of personality do you have? That is actually your soul tendency, which leads to your karma. And what Master was saying in the lecture was, if you can see through that person's soul tendency, a wise person will probably be able to see that this is going to happen to them in the future. In that way, by looking at their soul tendency, you can foresee the future. And that means, yes, fate is fixed. However, this leaves room for our efforts. If we can change our soul tendency, that means that our fate will be changed. And this is the very positive outlook that Happy Science is offering to people when talking about karma. By making efforts, you can change your future. Yeah? And let's say that fate is something so rigid and it's all fixed and it's all designed. What's the purpose of being born then? Right? It's kind of like, you're like Pinocchio. God is like playing around with you and you're already like, you don't have a free will. Whatever you do is already planned. So there's no point. And also, one way for people who believe in fatalism, what I would like to tell them is that if fate was so rigid and it's all like complete, then why would some people fall to hell after their discipline here? Who would plan to fall into hell? Right? So the theory that fate is all 100% fixed is wrong. Fate is something, it's a fluid, it's a liquid. So it's not as free as air, but it's not as rigid as a solid thing. So if it's free as air, it means that everything is controlled by your karma. However, Happy Science always takes the balanced path. There are things that you can't change in life. Sometimes there are things that you cannot change in life. But today, I'm going to explain about in the very end. Today I want to focus on the positive aspect, the things that you can change, where it leaves some room for effort and discipline. It's always easy to learn from someone else's life story, so I would like to show you one life story of a member in Japan. His name is Mr. Iwamoto. The video was made like 10 years ago, and Toshi is laughing back there. The reason why is because 10 years ago, Happy Science staff did not have that many fluent English speakers. So there may be a little bit of strong accent in the English, but please try to capture the storyline behind it. Okay, I just want to say that beforehand. So let me show you Mr. Iwamoto's life story, which is very related to karma and self-effort and happiness.
Whatever I did only got us deeper and deeper into debt. I wanted to run away. It was very hard. Someone please help me. It was a dead end. I wanted to die. If I could, I wanted to die. No. Leave it. It's just another reminder of payment.
But-
Don't answer it. I just can't pay it right now.
Masatoshi Iwamoto inherited a boutique from his mother. The small shop did well. Sales doubled, and soon it expanded into 7 stores.
That was good.
Aren't you going to be late for work?
I just go in the afternoon.
Okay, I'm going out.
Bye, honey.
He had his own home and an expensive car. He felt everything was going well.
Mr. Yamamoto, I'm going out to purchase more merchandise.
Okay, I leave it to you. Good God, how come you chose this? This is no good. We're not doing so well these days. Maybe it's your fault.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't understand why my staff didn't see how much the business was in danger. I was irritated and impatient. I scolded them harshly, but it was like they didn't hear me.
From 1997, sales started to drop. By 2000, sales fell of half of what it was at its highest. The business fell further into debt.
Mr. Iwamoto,
What's the matter, Miss Yamada?
the merchandise we ordered didn't arrive.
What? What do you mean? Bankrupt? Who told you we gone bankrupt? We are still doing fine. Hello? Hello? Hello?
He was overdue on numerous payments. Rumor ran that his company would go bankrupt.
Yusuke! What's with your hair?
Shut up! Get out of here!
Yusuke, are you drinking?
I said get out of here!
He dyed his hair blonde. His friends were always in his room, drinking and smoking. I just ran away from the problem.
His problems were not just with his son.
What should we do?
I was wondering if you can switch to part-time employment.
Are you joking?
Aren't you a little selfish?
What comes next? You're gonna fire
You are
us.
pathetic. Don't you have any pride?
One after another, his employees left him. He built debt upon debt to keep the business afloat, but it was barely hanging on by a thread. His sole solace he found in Happy Science, which he had recently joined. Here he was always warmly welcomed by the members. The time he spent with them was the only thing that uplifted him, and the only time he could stop sighing.
There were times I would wipe the tears from my eyes, so I could walk into the temple looking cheerful. The teachings of truth always gave me encouragement. Yes, I was at the brink of breaking down.
But when it was over, he had to face the painful reality
What heck is
that
this?
waited him.
No one will buy this.
I'm sorry.
You are in charge of buying. You should know better. The business has enough problems already. Are you trying to let this shop down?
You really haven't changed a bit. You said you're going to change us Happy Science, but nothing has changed.
I felt pathetic. I was a company president, but I wasn't producing any results. I said I was going to change, but I didn't. One employee told me, I like you as a person, but I can't work with you anymore. It was really tough.
Day by day, the cracks grew larger as the company's debt increased.
I can't pay it back.
Why don't we sell the house?
It won't be enough. Let's run away. No, maybe filing for bankruptcy would be easier.
Yusuke, where are you going? Please say something to him.
It must be easier if I die, Masatoshi repeatedly thought. He had hit bottom. One day, he was advised to attend a seminar at a Happy Science Shoujo.
I decided that this was my last chance. If I can't change, I'll close all my shops.
There, Masatoshi had a mystical experience.
I was in the middle of the universe. I so felt that my umbilical cord was connected to God. It made me feel so happy to know that I was connected to Him.
He then realized his mistakes. He always blamed his employees for failures. He turned his back on his son. He was always running away from all his troubles.
That was my turning point. I realized that nothing is without meaning in God's world. Everything had been prepared for me. For the first time, I tried to face and overcome my problems. I was too soft on myself. I was too soft as a business owner too. I was going to make others happy. My son, my family, and my employees. This feeling grew very strong.
Masatoshi decided to start his business all over again. He moved his office to a room in his house. With him remained only 2 other employees.
I thought you would be the first to quit. Why did you stay?
Well, I have a lot of memories in your mom's shop. My mom used to take me all the time. I didn't want to lose it.
There were employees who didn't give up on me. I was determined to make them happy. I had been too dependent on others. I was too soft. I had been leaning on others in many ways. But I realized everything was my responsibility. Every day was a battle against my own weakness.
Masatoshi took the initiative to revive the business. He resolved that he would take responsibility for everything. He began by taking on work that before he would have left to his employees to do. He visited countless stores to search for good products for good prices. Everyone helped each other out, and the change in the company grew more and more evident by each day. He also faced his son, whom he had avoided for so long.
Are you going out again? I'll email you.
Get it out of my face.
You can hit me, but I'm your father. I will never give up on you. I wanted to see through my son's eyes. I wanted to know how he saw the world. What did he like? What didn't he like? What did he want to do? I wanted to face him and understand him. Maybe I had been avoiding meeting his eyes before. So I tried to look into his eyes. I wasn't going to let him go again. No matter what happens, even if he means to go to hell, I was going to be with him. Oh, Yusuke, you're home early.
Dad, you've changed. You're not running away anymore.
Yusuke. He emailed me, I'm proud of you. It made me very happy. I didn't mind dying then. I was that much happy.
2 years later, his company recovered its sales and was able to finally turn a profit. The next year, his company achieved the highest sales ever in its history. By humbly accepting and facing the trial given by God, Masatoshi was able to not only succeed, but recover the precious bond with his family.
This is much better. Look.
No, this one is absolutely better.
Well, now that you say that.
See?
This one's cute too.
Okay, so thank you very much. So if you look at Mr. Kishimoto's life, he had to go through two problems. One was having to face bankruptcy, or almost going through bankruptcy. And if you can imagine how hard that would be on your life. Also, like, you know, you're employing people and your employees you could ruin their life when you take away their income and all that. So just the amount of pressure and responsibility that he had to bear must have been very tough. And not just that, not in your public life, but even at your home, your son goes delinquent and, you know, being abused, domestic violence all the way around. But if you had to go through that, usually that's a very, very tough course in life. But one point that I would like to learn from his video is this. As Master's always taught us, life is a workbook of problems to be solved. Life is a workbook of problems to be solved. The reason why we're born here is, first off, to amend our past bad karma. What do I mean by that? So there are things that you were not able to accomplish in past lives. And when you feel that regret, you try to relive that same situation in your next lifetime. Of course, the people you meet might be different, or they could be the same. Or you can switch the position around. You could be the wife and you can be the husband in the next lifetime. It can switch around, but you're going to replay the same kind of situation to see if you can overcome it again. Why? Why do we go through this process of learning from pain? That's actually God's love. God's love. What was that?
It makes you pay attention.
It makes you pay attention.
Aware of.
Aware of.
It hurts.
But so God's love doesn't come out not only in a kind way. He has provided us this world. He created this world so that he can give us opportunities to strengthen our souls or to develop our souls by gaining different experiences. And when God created us, this is the happy science's way of looking at the Genesis. When God created us, He programmed us so that we will feel joy when we gain a development in our souls. We call that enlightenment in Buddhism. When we gain enlightenment, when we gain a higher awareness by going through a hard experience, the joy that it's accompanied by is priceless. And this is all in us. In nature, we're created like this. So that's why it's important to see through the hardship that there's God's love in disguise. And that's why this phrase is not a pessimistic way of looking at life. It's actually a very wise way of looking at life. Very wise sentence. Life is a workbook of problems to solve to attain eternal happiness. So this is one point that I would like you to know, and I would like you to apply this sentence to your own lives. We all have workbooks of problems to solve. And one are predetermined. We've written it by ourselves. We wrote our workbook before we're born so that we can overcome the past karma. But the other one is the other definition of karma, your soul tendency. How does this manifest in the workbook of problems in your life. When you're facing problems, it's usually because of your soul wrong mind or your wrong soul tendency. So let's say that you're a very progressive type, but then you're lacking in love. What you usually see is in your public life, your work is going well, but at your home, there's a disaster. But let's say that you're a very caring person, the opposite. But then you're not a very much progressive person. What happens then? You may have a happy family at first, but your work may not go well, you could be fired, and then you can bring sadness to your family. So there's always this, every personality has a good side and bad side to it. And that bad side, it can manifest into your sufferings. If I say that in the opposite way, your sufferings are rooted in your shortcomings, in your personality. It's a manifestation of your own mind. This is a very important first step to attain enlightenment. Because if you can accept this as a fact, what happens next? The willingness to make efforts to change your soul tendency. That's what's going to come out next. And this is where the discipline comes in. So life is a workbook of problems. That was the first thing that we learned from Mr. Iwamoto's case. The second thing is this. Your soul's tendencies are not revealed in a happy, normal life. Your soul's tendencies are revealed momentarily in your long life. And what are those moments? It's when you face adversity. When you face a suffering. When you're suffering and suffering and suffering, not knowing how to overcome this certain problem. We have a lot of problems in life, yes. But the ones that stand out the most, those types of problems are usually, or you know what, it's 100% related to your soul tendency. And the third point that we learned from Mr. Iwamoto's case is this. You can overcome your problems when you actually face them and try to change yourself. Our normal tendency that we have as a human being, as an animal, is self-preservation. So when we face challenges, we naturally and instinctively would want to avoid it. But the way that Happy Science is showing to tackle their problems in life is the exact opposite. Face that problem. Let me show you what I mean by showing you one of the Master's lecture of revolutionizing your perspective.
If you adopt the point of view that human beings are all repeatedly reincarnated in this world in order to further their spiritual training, you will see that your current spiritual training, which you had considered to be ordeals, can be understood and received in a different way. If you base your thinking on the fact that you possess an immortal soul that is repeatedly being reborn on earth, then your outlook on life should undergo a complete change. In particular, you will realize that the problems in life that you have right now is providing you with some indication of the reason why you were reincarnated this time. Understand that the thing that is causing the most suffering right now shows the task you need to overcome in this life. So even if you feel that you are being swept away in a whirlpool of suffering, it actually means that you are presently facing the most important problem in your life. It is the most meaningful moment in the spiritual training you are currently undergoing. This makes it a fascinating subject for study, and it is a truly exciting moment of your life. It means that you have finally entered the ring for the final bout. Until now, you will have spent a long period in training, shadowboxing with an imaginary opponent, but that time is now over and the match is about to begin. When the referee calls out for the fighter in the red corner, it is time to take off your gown and enter the ring. Once you enter the ring and think to yourself, gosh, I gotta go to the bathroom, it's too late for that. When you're called up, you have to stand up and fight in the ring. If you're presently in the throes of a seemingly inextricable problem, then it means that you have been practicing for the title match for this moment for 1, 2, even 6 months. But finally, the time has come to enter the ring. It was for this moment that you were born. In fact, even before you were born, you may have spent decades or even centuries in the other world preparing for this moment. And it was only after you felt you were strong enough that you decided to come down to earth and carrying out this ordeal. This means that you have spent several centuries, or in some cases, much more, to build up to this day. You have devoted that much time training in preparation for the big match. Once you have entered the ring, it is too late to start making excuses. Once you are up there, you know what you have to do. You have an opponent in front of you, so you should not worry about anything else but to knock the opponent out. You have no choice but to knock out your opponent. If your opponent was a person, they might hit you back and it could be very painful, but the thing you are faced with is not a human being. What you feel as an insurmountable problem is in fact nothing more than a mirage. It is simply your own karma that has appeared in front of you in the form of some problem or worry. The person who faces you in the ring is not another person, but is a battle between yourself and your karma, and you have to win this match at any cost. That is the reason for your present incarnation. This is just an explanation of revolutionizing your perspective, looked at a different angle. It is a way to explain the idea of revolutionizing your perspective from the point of view of courage and enthusiasm. For instance, if you think of yourself as climbing up to the ring, then you will not be able to stop yourself feeling invigorated. After all, it is a battle that you have been training for all these years. So why is it now, when the crucial moment has arrived, you are still making excuses, saying, I can't help it, if I'm not that intelligent, or it is all the fault of my environment, or blame it on my parents, or it was my brother's fault, or it's not my fault if I'm poor. You are now in the ring. Out from the red corner, touch gloves with the person from the blue corner, and you are glaring at each other. What would you think if someone in that position were to say, actually, I haven't done any training these days. Oh, my legs are a little rusty and, yeah, I had a sore back since yesterday. My back has been killing me since yesterday. My shoulder is all swollen and I can hardly walk. I've got no muscles, see? I don't have any spirit either. It's all my trainer's fault and I have not done any training. Well, you know, thinking about it, it makes no difference to me if I win or lose in this match anyway. Hey, everybody thinks I'm going to lose. You would think this person was an idiot and give him a good punch in the face. It is no good to have this kind of attitude when you are in the ring. You have to hide your weaknesses and give it your best shot. The moment when you come face to face with your karma, you have to put on a brave face and go for it. This is the way you have to think. Even if you are at a disadvantage, don't show it. Be determined not to let your opponent know that he has a chance. Even though you may only weigh 140 pounds, you must stick out your chest and behave as if you have 160. You must make your opponent think that you have the advantage in weight and that therefore they stand a good chance of being knocked out by you. Whatever happens, you have to always think in a positive fashion.
Alright, so thank you very much. There's a little unique way. He used the metaphor of a boxing match. When you face your karma, meaning when you face those severe problems in life, don't start making excuses. Don't say I'm tired. Just like he said, don't run away. When you're in the ring, face it. Use all of your wisdom. Use all of your strength. And use all of your ability. Use all the power of your faith that you have. And tackle that problem. This is an important mindset to always have when facing life's problem. Let me show it to you in a more concrete way. There's 4 ways to actually solve life problems or to overcome your bad karma or your bad soul tendency. One, I would like to say, is to believe in the Lord and the truth. You can switch the word Lord with God if you would like, or the eternal Buddha, or Allah, the Creator. Believe in the Lord and the truth. Why is this necessary when you want to constructively fight your life problems? Why? Because by having faith in the Creator, that leads to this answer. There must be no waste in the world that the God has created. There is no waste in my life. What happens in my life that God has created? There has to be a meaning behind it. This belief can only come if you truly and firmly believe that there was a creator and that they created this school called life out of love. A lot of people are becoming strong materialists, and some are becoming materialists through the modern education, but a lot of the people who fiercely hates God, who fiercely says that religion is bad, usually a tendency behind them is that they've gone through a very strong hardship in life, and they end up not being able to believe in God because of that. If God existed, why are such harsh things occurring to me? A lot of my Jewish friends ended up becoming not believing in God because of that. But then, it's important not to lose faith that God is love. You need to be able to penetrate that suffering to be able to feel God's love. That penetration part comes from believing firmly in Him. And also, if you are facing life trials that are just much too hard to overcome, I would like to give you words of enthusiasm, quoting from Master's words. That is, God never confronts a person with a problem that is too difficult for them to solve. It is something that He has never done and never will. You're always given problems that you can overcome. This is the truth. This is what I mean by the truth, going back a slide. Believing in that God has created this world out of love, and also knowing this truth, a principle. It's a principle that you must believe to be able to truly revolutionize your perspective that when you're going through a suffering, it's actually God's love in disguise. If you can adopt this way of thinking, sometimes, through my own experience, when you face life problems, I start feeling like, here it comes. A little, what's the word? A little excited sometimes. Some people are nodding their heads, but you know what I mean? Like when you have this perspective, it's like, here we go, it's coming. It's finally here. I am going to face this. And when you can face your problems like this, truly, truly, I can tell you that even though from other person's perspective you may be suffering, you're actually, it's not. It's an exciting moment. Because you know that once you overcome it, what you're going to be given from God, that spiritual breakthrough, that happiness, that new self-awareness, is so phenomenal. So this is going to be on YouTube. Those who are watching it on TV, if you're facing harsh problems, please remember that usually human beings give up in the last 3 inches. If you dig 3 more inches, you'll find a landmine, a land full of gold. You'll always give up in the last 3 inches. So don't give up. And that power to be able to go through those last 3 inches is firmly believing in God. That was the first point. Second one, studying the truth. Studying the truth. The truth are what we call El Cantate's teachings in happy science. Buddha's truth, God's truth, universal principles. You can attain them by reading Master Okawa's books. So earlier I said that the problem you face in life is a workbook of life. Then I can say that truth is a textbook of life. So God didn't just send you into this realm of harsh training standards. He also has always been giving us teachings that were taught by religion, important philosophies, to be able to overcome our problems. So this is the aspect that's quite different from a normal church and happy science church. In a normal church, they would overly simplify how to overcome problems. It has good sides and bad sides. Believe in Jesus, and then you overcome your problem. It has a good side, because it strengthens your faith, because it's simple and easy. But the bad side is, it's lacking wisdom. Wisdom is the light to be able to cut through your sufferings. In the Western world and the Eastern world, historically, wisdom is usually shown in a shape of a sword. Why is wisdom a sword? Because it's been seen that it cuts through life problems. St. Paul, he's holding a sword. And a famous Buddhist monk is also holding a sword. They're both very wise men. Wisdom is the power to overcome your life problems. And the first step, I would say, is believing in God. But if you have a hard time believing firmly in God, I can say that you can start out by reading Master Okawa's books. Because it's very, very easy to take in modern language, colloquial English, and it speaks to your heart. And it's easy to digest. So please start out by accumulating the knowledge of your truth. The third point, in order to solve all problems in life, what is it? The determination to change yourself. The determination to change yourself. In other words, you need to adopt this perspective in life. The principle of self-responsibility. This is a theory that we're asking you to courageously accept. So, if you're suffering now, through this principle, it means that it's your responsibility. The suffering does not lie outside in your circumstances and situations. It lies inside your mind. The way you react to it. The tendency that you've had. All of this is inside your mind, and that's what's making you suffer. In higher level teachings, Shakyamuni Buddha taught us the Eightfold Path, which is a journey to attain an invincible self. That's the Eightfold Path. And there's 4 procedures to reach the Eightfold Path. One is suffering. The second one is the reason of the suffering. The third one is the extinction of the suffering. And the fourth one is entering the Eightfold Path. By going through this process, he's seen that you can overcome any problems in life. He starts out by saying suffering and the cause of suffering. So when you're trying to overcome problems in life, first you have to have a keen awareness of what you're suffering from. And you have to have a keen awareness next to know what's causing it. And in here, Buddha is saying is that it's inside your mind. Please take this approach. Because this is the most effective way to overcome the problems we face through our soul tendencies, that comes from our soul tendencies. Let me give you an example of this. This is a very interesting story that it was written in Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Has anyone read it before? Good. So you might know the story. So the episode is in, this has happened in 1995. It's a real life story, which happened at the coast of Canada and Atlantic Ocean. The U.S. Navy's battleship was training on the stormy ocean for several days. It was in the midnight fog. A watchman from the bridge reported to the captain, "I can see a light in the direction we're heading." The captain asked him, "Does the light move or stay still?" The watchman said, "It stays still." The captain thought this was not good, and his ship was going to crush with the other ship. Right at that moment, there was a radio message. "Turn your ship 20 degrees to the south, otherwise you are on the collision course." The captain replied, "Turn your ship 20 degrees to the north." Several seconds later, there was a reply. "No, it's not possible. You must turn your ship." The captain was a little offended and told them on the radio, "I am the captain of the U.S. Navy's battleship. I repeat, turn your ship several seconds, a reply came back. I'm a second-class sailor. We can't do it. Please turn your ship. The captain was getting furious and said, what I'm in right now, is the second largest battleship of the U.S. Navy North Atlantic Fleet. We demand you to turn your ship or we will resort to countermeasure. My goodness, anger is very dangerous, huh? And then the radio said, we're a lighthouse. Now this is an interesting, funny story, but we actually do this all the time in our life. What does this metaphor say? When we face problems, and usually a lot of sufferings come from interpersonal relationships, but when we enter suffering, we usually firmly believe that we're not wrong, and you're wrong. You have to change. But then, as Master has always taught us, and Shakyamuni Buddha has taught us too, the only thing that you can change is your mind. You cannot change other person's mind. You cannot change the other person's mind. So, interesting story, huh? When you face your life problems, it's important to accept and adopt this principle of self-responsibility. If there's a problem that goes on with interpersonal relationships, first you gotta ask yourself, hold on, I gotta simmer down. Are there any responsibility that I had on my side that caused this problem? If you don't have if you don't feel you have anything wrong in yourself, were there any second responsibilities, meaning an indirect responsibility? So it may be indirect, but could you still have altered that situation by making countermeasures earlier or by changing your way of thinking? Were there anything that you could have changed before you entered this problem? This is an important stance to take. And like I said earlier, the most effective way to overcome your life sufferings. Because the more you shout at the lighthouse, move the course, move the course, move the course, it cannot. And eventually you're going to crash. So remember, it's important to be humble and accept that you're also imperfect. And there may have been a blind spot on your side. It takes courage to do this, but it's the first step of enlightenment. When you decide to change yourself, the world will start looking very differently. Very much. And now the fourth one. How are we going to overcome life's problems? Like I said earlier, life problems usually come from interpersonal relationships, human relationships. And when that occurs, Master says, take this step. Understand them. Make an effort to understand their position, their perspective. See life through their eyes. Why? Because understanding leads to forgiveness. Understanding is equivalent to loving. And religiously speaking, understanding is believing in the Buddha nature or divine nature in the other person. When you're blaming the person, when your mind is full of anger, you do not have enough room to accept that they themselves are also human beings loved by God. Yes, you're loved by God, but they're also loved by God too. In Happy Science we teach that you have a duty to become happy. You have a duty, a holy obligation to become happy. That means that the other person also has the duty to be happy. Accepting that is what we're talking about here in understanding. If you have a hard time trying to love someone, try to use this one right here. Don't try to love or try to give, but first start making an effort to understand. And the first step to understanding is listening. Listening. God has given us one mouth and 2 ears, 2 more organs for listening, because it's more important to listen. Usually, when you're having a problem with someone, and if you can't understand them, you You justify yourself that you're listening to their opinions, but you're actually not. Look into your eye, look into their eyes. Try to feel their emotions. Try to feel the scream of their guardian spirit when you listen to the other person. When you can do this, that will be another first start in overcoming your life problems. Because when you're facing life problems, sad to say, the truth is you're very, very selfish. You're only thinking about your own suffering. You're only focusing on yourself. I, me, mine is always the subject that's going through your mind. So, for a change, please think about the other person's perspective. By doing this, you can go back to the third principle. There's the principle of self-responsibility and the principle or the willingness to change yourself. In other words, this willingness to change yourself is like, it's kind of like adopting the Copernican theory. Human beings used to believe a geocentric theory, that the earth stayed still and the sky was spinning. That is a life of an egocentric person. Everything in the world, yes, revolves around me. Very, very self-centered. But what Master is trying to say in these third and fourth principles is, please adopt the heliocentric view, the Copernican revolution. You're the one spinning around. So if you change yourself, you can change yourself, and you can overcome your problems. This is a very important method to tackle your karma that you have in life. So with all of that said, today I would like to practice one meditation. It's called Meditation on Compassion. So I've been saying this, but a lot of human sufferings come from interpersonal relationships. So please, if you have a problem right now that's going on with someone, or please remember a quarrel that you had in the past. It's usually someone close to you. It could be your mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, your wife, your husband, your children, your parents, your best friend, your rival, your teacher, your boss, your subordinates. Anyone that seemed hard to understand. And please pinpoint that one person first. It's important to have one person in mind when we practice this meditation. So please think of one person that you had a hard time understanding. With this person in mind, we're going to practice the meditation on compassion. First, there's going to be guidance from Master Okawa, and afterwards, he's going to guide you through this meditation. So please get in a relaxed posture, and please think of that person in mind. Close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths.
Next comes the meditation on compassion. This is a spiritual training for someone who is short-tempered. If you get angry easily, you first need to control that feeling. Unless you cease your anger and regain a peaceful mind, you can never have rational thinking. When you feel, I dislike that person, or he is a bad guy, you need to try to calm your mind by saying to yourself, all people are born equal as children of Buddha. You control your anger, believing that he is also a person with Buddha nature. This meditation will neutralize your anger and calm your mind. I believe that everyone has met someone they don't like. So please imagine a particular person you dislike now, or others whom you used to hate or get upset with very much. Then try to convince yourself that he or she is also a child of Buddha, and people are all equal, being given Buddha nature. Reflect on your mind that is not compassionate enough to embrace and cherish that person. Such a merciful heart can dissolve all the negative emotions you have been holding. For example, if your child does not listen to what you say, it is your duty as a parent to teach your child to behave. But you must first try to imagine how you were at the age of 3. Probably you also did a lot of nasty things, like messing around all the stuff in the living room, or throw things, or yelling at your mommy. Maybe you had a fight with other kids in your neighborhood and got your clothes dirty. Forgetting all this, you got mad at your child for not obeying you. This is the meditation to view others equally and have warm and compassionate feelings for everybody. When you feel anger, ask yourself what you would do if you were in the same situation as that person. Perhaps you might have behaved just as he or she did. Your mind is filled with anger about whatever incident that happened to you, but you can moderate your anger by putting yourself in the other person's shoes to understand that person's perspective. Now let's practice it. Okay, please begin deep breathing. Put your hands together in prayer. Close your eyes lightly. Imagine anyone whom you don't like, or someone whom you are upset with. If you don't have anyone, please choose someone in the past you got mad at. Then remember the particular feature of that person that you got mad at. Next, try to convince yourself that you have not been merciful enough to understand that this person is also someone who has Buddha nature. And reflect upon your narrow-heartedness. Okay, please finish your meditation.
Thank you very much. Sometimes when I do this, I tear up, but please use this as like, it doesn't have to be like a big anger. That little tiny irritation, like, why doesn't he understand what I'm trying to say? That kind of, little type of irritation, when it accumulates, it can turn into poison. As Buddha taught us, anger is poison, so it's important to reflect on it and to wash it away every day. So if you ever had a little bit of interpersonal problems in your daily life, make sure you have the habit to flush away like this. Please make it a habit to think from the other person's perspective. So how I did this was, when I first came from New York over here, I was very, very irritated by how people were driving here. So slow to the reaction of green light. It takes forever for the whole line to move. In New York, it's called like, I forgot what it was, like when the light turns green, we all push the brakes off. Like, it goes like this. But California, it's like, and then, and this was very irritating for me. and how I overcame this was like, this is what I said. Hold on. The person in front of me could be a grandma or a grandpa. When I see a slow driver, I think like this. When I thought like that, the little irritation stopped. And it's kind of funny, it's a little joke, but I'm dead serious. It's really important not to accumulate temper or bad temper or anger in your heart, because the scary part about anger is that once it seeps into your mind, you become more vulnerable to it. So it's important to always keep a mind that doesn't allow anger to come in. Because anger is a big driving force of sufferings in our life, especially here in America, I believe so. Very, very aggressive society. So please try to remember the importance of leaving out anger from your mind. And it's a habit. It's a habit. Once it comes in, that instant, try to think from that person's perspective. It'll be very helpful in order to grow a compassionate capacity in your mind. And what's so beautiful about this world and the discipline of the mind is, the more you put effort into it, you truly become a greater spirit. And it's all the time. All the time. The efforts you put in is never in vain. That's the universal principle of the mind. So the more effort you put into it, trust me, you're going to reap great fruits in the future. All right, so that was the meditation practice. Now, so what we learned today was that karma is a tendency of your soul. And that tendency of your souls are presented to you in the form of a workbook of life, workbook of problems to be solved. And it usually stands out in the most typical sufferings that you're going through. The one that stands out the most out of all other sufferings. By going through that suffering, you can find out what your soul tendency is. And when you face that suffering, it's important not to run away from it, but to courageously face it. Beat them up, Julie. You gotta face that problem. If it's interpersonal, don't beat up that person. Beat up that wrong karma inside your mind, the tendency. And one more point that I want to add to this karma thing is that it comes out in two ways. You're trialed and you're trained in two ways. One is to supplement your shortcoming. So if you're a very loving person, let's say that if you're a very progressive person, it might come out in the form of love. However, the other case is you're tested in your strengths. If your soul is a loving one, you're going to be given hardships to even make that loving heart stronger. So let's say that you're a very, very caring person. For some reason that I think you can relate to this when you see your friends or observe your people around you. Those people with magnificent, loving, such caring heart, they're the ones with sometimes having children with a little bit of handicap, or they have to take care of their elder mother or father. They had to go through the trial of love. So karma comes out in two ways: to fix your weakness and also to even further strengthen your strength. Please have this as an indicator when you reflect on what's the suffering you're going through. And all in all, though, with faith, you can revolutionize your perspective, and all sufferings turns into not happiness. No, we're not trying to say you should suffer and be happy, but it becomes the vitamins, it becomes the medicine for you to train your soul and be happy. All right?
Question.
Yes.
Can we just repeat what you said in regards to fate? F-A-T-E.
Yeah.
What you just said.
What did I just say?
What you just said.
Did I just say something about fate? Well, actually, I was going to get into the fate part. But so, destiny or fate, right? Destiny, fate. So, fate, the part that we talked about today is the ones that are coming out from your soul tendency or from your karma. And that's something that you can change, and usually we're blind of it. So we're usually blaming others. So today's approach was to make sure you check yourself first through the principle of self-responsibility. However, like I said at the very beginning, there are forms of destiny about which you can do nothing about. There are things like that. Let's say that you were born in North Korea. You cannot change the regime, or you can try. But you know what I mean? There are things, or let's say you're working in a big company, but all of a sudden it went bankrupt. You had no idea as as just an employee. When these things strikes your life, what's important is to know moderation. So to a certain point, it's very important to make the efforts to change. But sometimes the best way is to let go of trying to change something and just accept it. Just accept that's what's happening to you in your life. This is a very good approach. Let me use an analogy of a person who's drowning. When you're drowning, the more you swim around to try to get up, the more you drink water, and then you end up drowning. You end up like sinking. But when you're drowning, if you sit still, you naturally float up. That's what is explained here as moderation. You need to see if it's a matter that you need to give up, or if it's a matter that you can change. You need to be wise to make this decision. You need to differentiate this. So this is the last point that I wanted to add to the destiny or fate part. Kind of answer the question, or was it more of a specific?
I have to think about it because it's like...
yeah, it's very contemplative. You need to think about this first.
Yeah.
Okay. But, so today, if you liked what you learned today, it's the very basic teachings of happy science, how to overcome life problems. I would recommend this book, Change Your Life, Change the World, especially Chapter 2, Eternal Life and Reincarnation. I don't think I was able to express how profound the wisdom is that's explained in this chapter. It's just so deep, it's so touching, it really encourages you, and it shows you a totally new perspective on life. So if you would like to know more about today's karma, today's theme, please go to Chapter 2 of this book. Okay, so this concludes today's Sunday service. Thank you all very much for attending.